Do you need an EIN for your DBA? This question confuses many business owners, but the answer is simpler than you might think. A DBA itself doesn't need its own EIN, but your business might still need one, depending on its structure. Let's clear up the confusion around DBAs and EINs. A DBA, which stands for Doing Business As, is simply a fictitious business name that differs from your legal business name. Think of it as a nickname for your business. For example, John Smith might run a bakery called Sweet Delights instead of John Smith's Bakery. That Sweet Delights name would be his DBA. An EIN, or Employer Identification Number, is a tax identification number assigned by the IRS to business entities. It functions like a social security number for your business. The important thing to understand is that EINs are assigned to actual business entities, not to DBAs. Here's why this matters. A DBA is not a separate legal entity from your business. It's just an alternative name you're using. So if your business already has an EIN, you don't need a separate one for your DBA. You'll continue using your existing EIN for all tax purposes, regardless of which business name you're operating under. Let's look at when your business needs an EIN in the first place. Not all businesses require one. Sole proprietors without employees can typically use their social security number for tax purposes instead of an EIN. However, you will need an EIN if your business is structured as a partnership, corporation, or an LLC that's taxed as a corporation. You'll also need an EIN if your business has employees, pays excise taxes, or has a KEO retirement plan. Additionally, many banks require an EIN to open a business bank account, even for sole proprietorships or single-member LLCs that might not otherwise need one. Obtaining an EIN is straightforward and free. You can apply online through the IRS website, which is the fastest method. Alternatively, you can fill out and submit Form SS4 by mail or fax. The application requires basic information about your business structure, activities, and number of employees. There are some situations where you might need a new EIN. If you change your business structure, such as converting from a sole proprietorship to an LLC or corporation, you'll need to apply for a new EIN. Significant ownership changes might also require a new EIN. Business owners often make mistakes when dealing with DBAs and EINs. One common error is applying for an EIN under the DBA name instead of the legal business entity name. Remember, the EIN belongs to your legal business entity, not to the DBA. While you should inform the IRS about your DBA, you don't need a separate EIN for it. Another important consideration is that registering a DBA provides no liability protection. Unlike forming an LLC or corporation, a DBA is simply a name registration and doesn't create a separate legal entity. Your personal assets remain exposed to business liabilities when operating as a sole proprietorship with a DBA. For tax purposes, a DBA doesn't file separate taxes. All income and expenses from your DBA operations are reported on the tax return of your legal business entity using its existing EIN or your social security number. To summarize, a DBA itself doesn't need its own EIN because it's not a separate legal entity. Your business may need an EIN depending on its structure and circumstances, but that EIN will cover all DBAs operating under that business. Understanding this relationship between DBAs and EINs will help you properly structure your business and comply with tax requirements.